reality, I think, okay, I think there's a long way to go, all right? So then we'll try to see how teaching materials, for example, AI-generated teaching materials can be adopted, can be used, because one of the issues and one of the problems for teachers that they don't know how to teach from a global English's perspective is a lack of teaching material, let alone assessment, because I think assessment is even a far way, right, a long way that global English scholars really needs to really dig like further, right, to see how this assessment can be more like global English oriented if it's possible, right? So again, this ideology or this paradigm is not to be imposed again to people. So I also need to make this clear at the beginning that this is like an option for people who really want to, communicate, use English in various channels for various ways. Okay, yeah. So a bit of the repetition for those of you who joined me yesterday already. Yeah, but I think I've got something new here, but some repetition anyway. So bear with me. I think this is basically from the spread of English that now we see this post-colonial settings and in various contexts that English is used as a lingua franca, right? This is from the early Stravin's like tree of this the spread of English from this colonial settings. And also I talked about this already, and I call this like the English today debate, from where Quirk's argument of language varieties and standard language, where he argued that non-native Englishes as deficit and non-native variety, non-native Englishes are inadequately learned versions of correct native English, and also non-native Englishes are not valid as teaching models. Okay, so this is actually, I think, controversial, or again, from a global English's perspective, I call this is very restricted argument. Yeah, while here, back in 1991, Cattell, I call the father of world Englishes, yeah, wrote a response to critique Rodolph's arguments, okay, with the title Liberation, Linguistics, and the Quirk Concern, where Cattell argued that non-native Englishes are not as deficit. It's just difference because people in different contexts, especially from post-colonial contexts, yeah, people use English in different ways. They can communicate very well. Okay, they have various varieties, different features in the varieties, but they can still communicate very well. They use English in the teaching context as well with the varieties, so we cannot basically argue that non-native varieties are not as, teaching models. So also he criticized Quirk's deficit linguistic position and also highlights 6 false assumptions of Quirk's arguments. Yeah, for example, like English should be learned and taught by native speakers, and English is learned and taught the early the better, etc. So again, this is a very famous model of world Englishes. I think yesterday we also had some discussion with the critiques of this model. Yeah, this is good. This is a good reference. But as we already mentioned, and scholars in the fields of like this postmodern language ideologies, we also recognized even, right, with this model, the world Englishes model, some scholars would say that even native English, right, the variety, the inner circle is in the center, while this model may lack recognition of the mobility of people. Yeah, that can be non-native speaker can also live and live in the inner circle, while inner circle people can also live in various contexts. So this is a lack of recognition of people mobility, right? And also like pidgins and creoles is very difficult to be reflected from this model. Yeah, so time limits. Yeah, we've already discussed this. So Kettler argued that English acquires a new identity, a local habitat, and a name. English has now, as a consequence of its status, been associated with universalism, liberalism, secularism, and internationalism. So this book, edited volume by Kettler, The Other Tongue, English Across Cultures, really, this edited volumes have many papers, contributions that describe the spread of English and also language ideologies from this world English's perspective, yeah, and with these various features, the codifications of varieties of English. And okay, and people also argue the ownership of English, even from Whittelson's paper in TESOL Quarterly. So this is this very strong argument. But of course, here he just positioned himself when we look at the spread and use of English from an intercultural or international communication perspective. Yeah, it does not mean that English used in the UK or English used in the US or things like this. I think this one is from the position of international communication, where he argues that how English developed in the world is no business whatever of native speakers in England, the United States, and anywhere else. They have no say in the matter, no rights to intervene or pass judgments. They are irrelevant. The very fact that English is an international language means that no nation can have custody over it. Yeah, very controversial though. People have very different arguments on this. So that marks also the beginning of ELF, where Jenkins published a book based on her PhD thesis. So this book was published based on her PhD thesis called The Phonology of English as an International Language. Yeah, we know that in this book, she proposed the lingua franca core. I don't know if you're familiar with this, the lingua franca core, that some features of pronunciation must be taught, right? And some features of pronunciation might not be that necessary or important because they would not impede communication. Yeah, for example, she also mentioned the dark L, the L sound, may not be really important for intercultural communication and also for international communication. Well, of course, later she realized that this model is not perfect. This lingua franca core is not perfect. So she also recognized, she also revised this model later. Yeah, anyway, but this is, I think this is the a milestone of the field of English as, what if you call this English as an international language or English as a lingua franca, because in 2000, yeah, English as lingua franca, this term did not exist yet. Okay, so why do we study like from World Englishes to ELF is that we know from Kettler's perspective, Kettler's World Englishes focused more on this outer circle English, where Jenkins' book, where Jenkins starts to recognize the complexity of English use, not only from this outer circle perspective, yeah, but for people from expanding circle and outer circle and even in the inner circle. Because English is used in a way, like in a very fluid, dynamic way. It's not only settings, like for example in Singapore, like for example in India, in the outer circle, but people use English in a more dynamic and a fluid way. So that's with this book, from the World Englishes to English as a lingua franca. So that's the first phase of ELF. It's from the early 1980s, I would say, from World Englishes to ELF. Yeah, and 2000 was Jenkins' book. But the term ELF, ELF, did not exist yet. The early stage of ELF, people tried very hard. They wanted to legitimize this World English's varieties, but they also tried to see if there was a international intelligible variety for ELF speakers. Yeah, because for example, Singapore English, Nigerian English, Malaysian English, they are intelligible within the communities, right? Within the countries, the settings. But if there was an internationally intelligible English, whether they've got some phonological features, whether they've got some morphosyntactic features, that's the early stage ELF scholars were trying, yeah, to develop this model. That's why with the start of lingua franca core. Yeah, but later, yeah, I share with you, later scholars found that it's impossible to have this internationally intelligible variety. Because even within this context, for example, within Thailand, there are different accents when Thai people speak English, right? Yeah, within China, for example, there are different accents, people from the north, people from the south, people from various areas. They speak very different, even, yeah, people from the same country, right? So later, ELF scholars recognized it's almost impossible, yeah, to have this international variety of English. But that's the early stage, yeah? The phonological features and also the lexical grammar, the morphosyntactic features. So we'll see Jenkins' proposal of the lingua franca core, and also people try to codify the shared features of this variety, or whatever you call it, the similarities of people use English. For example, the uncountable nouns to countable, zero marking of third person singular, merging of who and which. Okay, I know the person which da 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 da. This book that which da 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 da. This book who da da something maybe. A new use of morphemes, etc. I'll show you some examples. Yeah. So the lexical grammar features. People realize that many this traditional, the so-called uncountable nouns are used in a countable, yeah, as countable nouns, yeah, knowledges, stuffs, furnitures, mobility. So people in post-colonial and also many people in this expanding circles, we tend to use, okay, as a countable noun, yeah. But also now, even that in the fields of research and also the language use, there is like this what we call the decolonizing, right? Decolonizing pedagogy. And people sometimes, recently in publication, you can see that some scholars will use those words on purpose. They can say knowledges in international publication as well, right? They will say knowledges, informations, things like this on purpose to show their perspective from a decolonizing pedagogy, decolonizing writing publication perspective. That this is not wrong, okay? This is, they want to show their identity, yeah? But from a traditional assessment, language learning perspective, we say this is wrong, okay? And also we see this generalization. For example, this communication, what is the verb of communication? Is communicate. So what is the verb of examination? So people will, this is a generalization, yeah? But people use this word, may not exist in native English dictionary, okay? Assessments, increase. So what is the noun of increase? People will, yeah, for ELF speakers, some will say, they'll say increasement. Those are found on from a corpus, yeah, from ELF corpus, that people will coin the words. Yeah, whether you say this is a generalization, whether you say people will coin the words, but the interlocutors will follow with those, the innovative way, this way of speaking. They will not correct. Those ELF speakers won't say, oh, you are wrong, or we need to correct this as a mistake. They will follow with this way of communication in a very natural way. Yeah, from the corpus perspective, improvement, approve, people will say improvement. Yeah, although we know native speakers may say approval, but the words, because people have no problems understanding this. So in a corpus, people will use this in a very natural way. They'll continue the communication, no problem. Expectation, respect. They will coin the word respectation, no problem. And even we see the past tense of some irregular verbs may become regular. Yeah. So watched, catched. Some people say catched. Yeah. Why? We always need to say course, for example. I guess even native speakers don't know the reason why. Yeah. So that's the first phase, and the second phase where scholars, ELF scholars, started to realize language use is too complicated, right? Even within Asia, okay, it's quite impossible to have this variety. And ELF people started to give up, I would say, codifying certain varieties. So they focus more on these accommodation skills and negotiation of meaning to see how people use English for communication purposes, how people use English to negotiate meaning. And the research focus, yeah, I think after 2000, yeah, people started to focus on the processes underlying ELF speakers' variable use of forms, and that's the concept of communities of practice. Yeah, they share certain features, but they also construct their identity. They try to use English to negotiate meanings there. So ELF is not regarded as consisting of bounded varieties, but as English that transcends boundaries, not within a certain context, country or context, right? So that is therefore beyond description. So I think here Jenkins and scholars started to recognize, yeah, it's impossible to codify a certain international feature, international intelligible English, right? There is no international variety of English anyway. So the third phase, yeah, I think I also talk about this, is that scholars of ELF also recognize, yeah, with the global Englishes as well, they started to recognize that English is not the only language for communication. Yeah, we can't simply prioritize English, right, as the only lingua franca. In this way, people's linguistic resources have been neglected. So scholars would think, yeah, ELF should be positioned in the paradigm of multilingualism. So Jenkins also proposed a term called multilingua franca. Yeah, so people all realize the new demographic trend, although it's not new anyway, people just recently recognized this. So the research on multilingualism, where Professor Stephen May from the University of Auckland, right, he proposes multilingual term. Yeah, I think 2013, that his edited volume. Okay, so we recognize this multilingual term in applied linguistics. And also we need to recognize the complexity and super diversity of language contact, that we have this translanguaging, translingual practice, etc. So Jenkins, I think I have a reference later, yeah? I think I put the reference somewhere. So this multilingual communication in which English is available as a contact language of choice, but it's not necessarily chosen. So really, people have the flexibility. People have the flexibility to choose, yeah, what type of language they would have, or what type of communication they would have. Yeah. We really see this complexity of research fields, and also this paradigm when scholars start to critique themselves and critique other people. And for researchers, for students, for people, we also found sometimes we are losing the way, yeah, who we will really quote or cite anyway. So Seidelhofer's early definition, yeah, where she argued that English is often the medium of choice and the only option, right? Well, Jenkins here says, but not necessarily chosen. So they have the different, yeah. So this understanding from the English as a lingua franca or English as a multilingual franca. But anyway, it's very important that we see ELF legitimates as users of the expanding circle. We cannot simply label people's use of English as mistakes, right? The legitimates, they are capable, they are competent language users, and also it's in tune with the plurilinguistics nature of a world English's paradigm, because also people want to share, say, oh, what are the similarities of world Englishes and ELF, etc. There are similarities, but of course, certain scholars, they have certain position. Yeah, I also saw the Facebook debates or Facebook posts where people say that whether you would like to label yourself as a world English's scholar, or whether you prefer to label yourself as an ELF scholar. Now I think maybe there is a post that whether you prefer to label yourself as a global Englishes scholar. Yeah, because global Englishes is might be more inclusive. And later, yeah, I think I have this global Englishes. Okay, so we'll see the new focus of ELF. It's no longer a native speaker of English, because it's we also recognize that it's almost impossible for learners, for users, right? If we still label that non-native language users, learners, to achieve this native competence. And very often, from this ELF perspective, it's no longer necessary, right? So the target is a fluent bilingual or multilingual speaker retaining a national identity in terms of accent and with special skills required to negotiate understanding with people from different lingua cultures. So this is English as a lingua franca, positioned from this multilingualism, from this paradigm of multilingualism. Yeah. Some scholars use the term English as an international language, yeah, interchangeably with English as a lingua franca, right? So, but we see that the term EIL, English as an international language, this term has been used like more often from this teaching English perspective, ELT perspective. So people would say teach English as an international language. Yeah. So some scholars would prefer this term. So a quick summary is that this is a paradigm shift in research, teaching, and recognition of the current linguistic landscape and the sociolinguistic functions of English. Also, this is a shift from monolingual framework to multilingual and multicultural framework and theories of English use. Yeah, that's the global Englishes, more inclusive. While Galloway and Rose, they also proposed the principles of global Englishes language teaching, increase world Englishes and ELF exposure in language curricula, emphasize respect for multilingualism in ELT, raise awareness of global Englishes in ELT, raise awareness of ELF strategies in language curricula, emphasize respect for diverse culture and identity in ELT, and change English teaching hiring practices. So we already had some discussions already, yeah, and to some extent, they are very good proposals. So they are very good principles. They argue the 6 principles of global English language teaching. But in reality, as we discussed yesterday, and I also shared this with my students and with colleagues, that to what extent this proposal, global English language teaching, has really turned into real classroom settings and has really turned into this policy making process. I think there is still a gap. There's a big gap, right, with this proposal of global English language teaching. Of course, it's very important to recognize the authentic language use and also English use in reality. Yeah, so I think we have been learning English for many, many years, and we realize that things we learn, yeah, from these videos, from the recordings, and from the textbook might not really reflect the real use of English in reality. Yeah, sometimes you achieve very high score in whatever texts, right? Local texts, international texts, but you still find it very difficult to some extent to study abroad, right? To understand, to fit in this teaching content, etc. And in daily life, you still find that it's difficult to order food. It's difficult to communicate with people, whatever, for academic discussion or for daily communication. Yeah. Anyway, so global English is there. It's more inclusive. We see also recognizes diversity and fluidity of English use from the ELF paradigm. So global English is driven policy, curriculum, pedagogy, and assessment, place great emphasis on providing teachers and learners with a more exposure and engagement with the diversity of English as a global lingua franca in authentic social communications. Yeah, so this educational endeavor places more value on learners' multilingualism and orients learners towards reappropriating native speaker norms. Yeah, it's very important that we don't really abandon this. Yeah, or we don't not only just to challenge or to critique or criticize, but here is to a way of reappropriating this native speaker norms. Yeah, it's there. It's important. But how do we really teach and use English from a perspective, real perspective? Well, we also discussed this, and this morning I'm not going to talk about translanguaging. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about translanguaging because again, scholars would also say that translanguaging should stand on its own, as we discussed yesterday. Yeah, also mentioned there is no E in translanguaging. So why translanguaging is part of this global English paradigm? Yeah, it's not because it's popular. It's not because that people are researching translanguaging and global English scholars or global English people really want to include translanguaging here. It's not about this case, right? Yeah. So I think recently, global Englishes, although this argument or this statement from Rose and Galloway that they say global Englishes would extend the length of all the Englishes, ELF and AIL, and look at these peripheral issues associated with the global use of English, such as globalization, linguistic imperialism, linguistic racism, education, language policy, and planning. So to some extent, I think those areas, researched more from other social linguists, not simply, of course, global Englishes scholars are they're interested in this, but many non-global English scholars also research a lot on this. Yeah, so I would say that it's not only researched from a global English's perspective. Yeah, so like when I research not only global Englishes, but I'm interested in global Englishes. My PhD was based on more like global Englishes, but I think we also need to recognize the many non-global Englishes scholars. Yeah, they're also researching this perspective. They're very broader compared to global Englishes. So it's very important here. We recognize both the sociolinguistic landscape and also we see the number of non-native speakers, right? This is the number that's more than this native speaker of English. So I also share some of this with my students as well in lectures and in my class of discourse analysis. Yeah, I also share this, I think, in other events that my students already feel sick when I show this picture again. But I like this one because, not because, how can I, maybe the screen, yeah? Better, go up. Okay, I think you can still see this, no problem. Not because I took this picture myself, yeah? When I took this picture, I didn't realize, we can do a lot on I just took this picture as a teaching material. Maybe I think at that time I thought that it would be a teaching material to my students. But later I found this picture very, very interesting, and we've got lots to analyze here. If you can recognize, yeah, Chinese, we can say the meaning here is to, oh, thank you, is to master, this is faster, 更快掌握, right? Faster, this is master. 纯正英语, this is pure English. So you master pure English, yeah, quickly, yeah. You master pure English more quickly, 更快掌握纯正英语. So time limits, I'm not going to ask you to discuss or analyze this, but we'll see very interesting that what does it mean by 纯正英语, by pure English, right? And you see the image, you see the power, the distance, and also see the gender aspects, right? Yeah, I think for boys, we are nodding. So I think it's very good. So we realize this issue, yeah. So we are aware of this. And also to see like how they dress, in a formal way, in a casual way. So who has power from this advertisement, right? And even you see they tied each other, and you see whose hand, right? The left hand of the male, the right hand of the female is tied with the left hand of the female. So normally we will say the right hand is the hand of power, right? So we will see the power distance, how people, how their identity was projected in this advertisement, and what is the message, what's the hidden message showed here, right? And very interesting. So, just, yeah, go next. So again, I think when we link back to Widdowson's arguments that no one can pass judgment, right? No nations can have custody. So who can judge whom, yeah, when speaking English? And that also goes to Professor Claire Cramp's book on language as symbolic power. I think they're very closely linked, although this one, I took this one, I think, maybe 10, 15, even, yeah, years ago. But this one was published 2020, where Claire Cramp's, Professor Cramp's published a book, Language as Symbolic Power. I think reflects from this, yeah, advertisement. Okay. Go, move up, yeah. How do I, you can try to help me, thank you. So language as symbolic power, yeah, from this example here. Okay. So I go. Okay. And again, this book by Peterson, this is open access. You can download this book. I really love this book as well. So the title of this book is Making Sense of Bad English, where this the quotes here that people who speak perceived non-white variety of English are much more likely to be judged negatively. Okay. So I hope that anyway. So, but they're the majority of people. But why they're more much likely to be judged negatively in that way? From which perspective? Simply because of the accent? Simply because they don't use maybe the traditional native grammar? I don't know. So very interesting. So this book, Making Sense of Bad English: An Introduction to Language Attitudes and Ideologies. Nowadays, you can also see some posts online critiquing people's use of English. Many people still see themselves, even they are not a native speaker, right? I mean, they don't use English very well, but they like to judge people's English. Very interesting. You'll see some posts on this. So the gap is that to a large extent, the ELT world generates a false image between the local and the global, and creates an invisible hierarchy between the center and the periphery. Yeah. So it's perceived as a property of its native speakers. So recently scholars, they argue the use of English language ideologies or language use from a global South perspective. They only challenge this perspective. So you use English from the center. Okay, so we start with some examples here. This one is a theory and methodology of TESOL. I found this is an online course with different chapters. So the different weeks, for example, okay, the first week, the second week, okay, second chapter, approaches to language teaching. Then the third chapter, okay, chapter 3, communicative approach. So, okay, for a TESOL course, trying to introduce teaching methodology and also the speaking skill, teaching grammar, okay, although teaching grammar communicatively, okay. How to write a PPP lesson plan, more on lesson plan frameworks. Chapter 8, teaching vocabulary. Chapter 9, the listening skill. Chapter 10, the reading skill. Chapter 11, the writing skill. No speaking skill, yeah, very interesting. Chapter 12, using authentic material. Chapter 13, correcting learners' language mistakes. Chapter 14, classroom management. Chapter 15, testing and assessment in the EFL classroom. Chapter 16, video observation. Yeah, this is an online TESOL certificate. This is online syllabus. Okay, so I think we do this activity. How do you feel about this syllabus from a general perspective? And then from the use of English, yeah, if it's from the global English's perspective, to what extent, okay, do you think that when a person, when someone completes this program, this training, he or she is capable of teaching English to students and with this awareness of global Englishes? Yes. The question here is that to what extent do you believe that this course is global Englishes oriented? How would you like to revise the content of this course to be more global Englishes oriented? If I go back here, and I'm sorry for people who do this online. Yeah, I don't know. You can try to use. Now we try to use AI. That's why I think you can brainstorm by yourself, and then you'll probably ask AI to adapt to the content as well. If you like to share, yeah, for those of you who may have a laptop, or you can use your AI on your mobile phone. Okay, I'll stop a bit. Okay, I'll just mute myself and I'll just move on. For those of you who join online, you may want to do this. I can. Speaking is, oh, sorry, yes. Chapter 4. Or maybe you can try to use AI and ask AI to design a syllabus related to TESOL and to see to what extent that is global English is oriented to prepare people for real life English. About 10 minutes, then we'll see what I tried the prompts and what type of AI would generate here. Of course, feel free to use different AIs, yeah? Yeah, we saw Ajahn Nattapon has generated, right? Yeah, yeah. Yes, Ajahn Nattapon has generated one examples from this AI generated material. And also Mandy as well. Yep. So we'll see, we'll discuss later. Thank you. And I want participants on site here to share at least one example of your revised syllabus as well, yeah? Okay, so we move on because I think we've got some comments from participants here. Let's say what's to chat. I'll share the online ones later. Yeah, thank you. You can just continue. But who would like to share your AI generated teaching material? You can pass the microphone.
Do you want to share the screen? Yes.
Oh, you also join online, yeah?
Yeah.
You can share the screen. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's good. It's good if you can also share the screen. Okay, yeah.
Is it there?
Yes, you can speak.
But it's not there. Hang on.
This one.
This one. And then,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'll make it bigger, please. Thank you. No, there's a later version. I'll ask it to revise it. Yes.
This one you would like.
Yeah, the last one because it's more meaningful.
Or you can also share the process.
This one.
Process. Oh, you're in the process as well?
Yeah, because
Okay.
it's so good.
You can zoom in.
Okay.
Because this is the process of human agency.
HCI. Okay, HCI is a human-computer interaction. Right, so I just cut and paste that onto it and ask you, can you revise it using a global English paradigm, consider a bottom-up approach, include authenticity and other relevant features. So the AI has tried this. As you can see, it goes to supposedly, I think rather superficially actually, to look at introduction at global Englishes, approaches to language teaching, communicative approach, and so on. So the bottom part is generally quite similar. So it has incorporated very superficially certain words like what you wanted to see there. I'm not very happy with this. So I've asked it to do it again, and it pretends to say that, okay, we've done the bottom up, blah, blah, blah. These are the words I've used. It just gave me back the same words. Right, so it's like, what about multilingual concepts? So can we include some of the different features? Because you notice that the top bit was still very monolingual. The emphasis was on English. So it has revised this. And so the first class is now included the word and monolingualism. So it's included 2 of the words in my prompt. It looks slightly better, I think. And then it changes the approach to language teaching. So this is the second part that I think it has changed a bit. It's a lot better than the one before. And then it goes on to communicative approach and so on. So it goes down to the little bit here where it says reading skills, writing, blah, blah, blah. It includes the words I put in the prompt again, but I'm not quite sure if the rest is what I really wanted. So I think I need another prompt. So that's where I'm at the moment. Thank you.
That's very good example that, yeah. I think it's also a very good example of human agency. That's what how you share this process as well. That at the first stage, right? AI, this generated material may not be something, yeah, what the teacher, what we want, and then what we'll try to add more prompts, yeah, to see this multilingualism, to see this global English's perspective, and again, whether this classroom management in the final chapters are what we need. So we keep revising, right? And I think finally, at least AI will generate something at least more satisfactory. Anyone more here? Probably. Because I like the process. It's very important that we don't really see the results of what AI, what kind of new or revised syllabus AI generated. But I think this process. Have you got someone? You can share the screen or I can see. Yeah, let's. Yeah, if not, I'll just share this online. Since people also put this on the chat box. That here we have Natapon, the revised version. So it's chapter 1, Introduction to Global Englishes. Chapter 2, okay, again, we kind of teaching English in a multilingual world. Chapter 3, okay, so AI would just add a bit. Yeah, but we still need to, right? Chapter 4, speaking skill enhancing for international communication. So AI will just add a bit, like what we want, world Englishes, global perspective, language planning. Okay, so I think in this sense, AI seems to just add something in a very quite superficial way, right? Still, we need more agency. We need more things to include. Still, yeah, just add a bit like incorporating, correcting learners' mistakes. Okay, so in that sense, AI will still feel this is the error correcting from this global English's perspective. So classroom management is just like managing a multilingual, multicultural classroom, but sometimes not every classroom is, yeah, multilingual, multicultural anyway. So it says the syllabus integrates the concept of global Englishes, emphasizing the importance of understanding and teaching English as it is used around the world, hopefully. But this is from ChatGPT, right? I also saw like Mandy's from Gemini, this one. I think this one is even, right? From it's very general. So the course content in the image, I think this is an analysis, some ways to revise. Yeah, so I think they throw back to teachers ourselves that tells us, okay, you want to revise? You just includes examples, you just of accents, grammars, you just discuss the concept of English as a lingua franca, okay? Highlights the importance of understanding cultural differences, include resources from a variety, teach strategies for teaching English. So I think Gemini basically provides the general comments, suggestions, and that goes back to the teachers. I think in that sense, ChatGPT, it's not perfect, but ChatGPT provides more detailed updates. Yeah. And this one from Diep Lee, So the first class, okay, second class, it's similar to the first one, yeah. An inclusive environment. Right. So in this sense, if we simply ask AI to revise, to update, without human agency, to ask follow-up questions, follow-up prompts, we see AI cannot really dive something deeper. The question, to what extent do you believe that this, okay, so no, so you didn't ask AI to revise. Yeah, so again, this is what I generate here if I share with you. I also ask AI, but I just, let's say, and we'll see some examples, and then we'll see how we can live well with AI. Yeah, but at least this one, yeah. So I just ask this one. The AI says to determine the extent to which this TESOL course is global English is oriented, we need to examine how the course content address the diversity and plurality of English as it is used around the world. Yeah, that one is generated by ChatGPT 4.0. Yeah. So global English emphasizes the idea that English is not just a language of native speakers, but a global means of communication influenced by diverse cultures and contexts based on this course. So you see this ChatGPT evaluates this, appears to be fairly traditional in its approach, focusing on the communicative methods and specific language skills, speaking, listening, reading, writing, grammar, vocab, and classroom management. While these are important components of TESOL, they may not fully address the principles of global Englishes, but let's see the new one generated by AI, whether this reflects global Englishes, yeah? But it's more detailed, okay, So you can emphasize, Chapter 2 to 4, include discussions on varieties, cultural contexts, and the importance of intercultural communicative competence, right? So they try to include something similar together instead of only one chapter, another chapter, another chapter. Yeah. And also a GE-oriented approach. I think grammar is something, right? From the global English's perspective, if we need to understand what is the so-called standard, what can be something variable, something different across different English communities, okay? And also activities to reflect the global use of English, including non-native varieties and multilingual contexts. How about vocabulary? Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, here it says emphasize exposure to diverse accents, dialects, and cultural references in vocabulary. Maybe later we can ask, right, what kind of accents or what dialects, examples of this, but I haven't done this. But later we can ask ChatGPT, we can ask AI to generate more detailed examples, right? And also here, error correction should be approached with an understanding of different English norms and the concept of linguistic tolerance. Again, we may want to ask AI that how, right? I think something here is quite general. Yeah. Okay, classroom management, we need to understand people from different backgrounds. Testing and assessment, right? So, so revisions is something, yeah, the different criteria here. Different criteria here, we can see it includes a dedicated chapter on global Englishes, incorporates intercultural communicative competence, diversified authentic materials, adjusts error correction approaches. I think this is also very important, right? From a global English's perspective, revise assessment strategies. Again, very important. assessment evaluates learners' ability to communicate effectively across different varieties. Add a chapter on world Englishes and integrate global perspectives in all chapters. So AI says, by making these revisions, the course would better prepare teachers to address the realities of English as a global language and equip learners with the skills needed to navigate diverse English-speaking environments. It seems fine, no problem. But later I ask AI another question. Yeah, apart from this syllabus itself, I ask AI another question. Hey, my mouse is not moving here. The AI must be not really happy with this when I ask the follow-up question here.
Oh, it doesn't.
Yeah, not working. And even the keyboard is not working. Oh, but it's on the screen is working. Okay, maybe let me do this. Let me see the screen here. Okay. All right. But I'm not sure if I'm sharing this. And okay, I'm sharing this one. So okay, so I ask, hey. Okay, so I just say, can you make it more specific and design the 16-week course syllabus be specific? So this one basically, there's a revised version. But this one, it seems, again, go to another extreme, right? So this may not be what we want because it's not a course on global Englishes anyway. So again, it's very interesting. We will see something generated by AI. We need to treat this very careful, in a very careful way. All right. So again, this very, very global English is oriented. In this way, we don't want the TESOL course to become a global Englishes content course. Yeah. Okay. So I think I asked assessment somewhere, but maybe later we will see here. So I think it's again very important for us to pick up like some the chapters that may help us. I think something that again we need to treat this in a very like careful way. Like I think this is very important. Yeah, we're using authentic materials from around the world. That's something I like it. Maybe it says with the examples of authentic materials, articles, videos, and podcasts in the first version may not be there. And again, like classroom management for multicultural classrooms might be something I like. And I think I'm more curious about testing and assessment with global Englishes. Yeah. Creating fair and biased, assessing communicative effectiveness in diverse contexts, techniques for formative and summative assessment, examples on the global Englishes inform assessments. Yeah, I think I also asked somewhere about assessments, right? Yeah. So I asked another follow-up question. I asked, this seems a nice course plan, but how would you assess the student from this course content? Yeah, and this AI answered that assessing students in a course designed around global Englishes involves evaluating not just their language, but also their understanding and appreciation of the diversity of English use worldwide, their intercultural competence, their ability to apply these concepts in practical teaching scenarios. Yeah, so here, the components, right? Classroom participation, reflection journals, quizzes, and short tests. So here's a guide on the tests on specific aspects of global Englishes, such as features of different English varieties. Again, we need to do this if we really want to teach different features, or some general features might be good, right? But again, as we understand, it's very impossible to codify an international variety of English. So I think, again, for teachers, we need to have this awareness that not every features should be taught or should be tested, right? Teaching demonstrations, that's very important. Again, for a TESOL syllabus, a TESOL course, at the end, we really want to see how well a teacher or a pre-service teacher can demonstrate him or herself in a real classroom setting. And then also peer and instructor feedback. That's something very helpful. Yeah, how these mini lessons incorporating global English's principles, and also lesson plan portfolios. Something like research projects or case study might go beyond the class. If some courses, if you don't have time for people to go out of the classroom to do this research projects or case study, given that this is even like an online syllabus, an online course, this might not be possible. Yeah, but in the future, if you want to maybe turn this teaching into a research project, or you want to conduct research on this, this will be helpful. Yeah, so this is as in-depth research on a topic related to global Englishes, such as a specific variety of English. I think, yeah, Nicola Galloway and her colleagues have done this before. Yeah, strategies, intercultural communicative competence. Alternatively, a case study of an ESL, EFL classroom or context, analyzing the use of English. So people can also reflect on their own teaching contexts, and they can do an analysis, case studies from their perspective, right? As what we did now to evaluate other courses, other contents in that sense. So I think in this way, yeah, have a report as a, so again, I think this is more like from the formative assessment method, really for teachers, for trainers, we also need to contextualize that how possible, okay, our time and our efforts, our endeavor, and how well the students can demonstrate their abilities and how well they can do like lesson plan or research projects. If they can do this in a very superficial way, why do we want to include everything, right? And how do we guide them to develop this course? I think in a deeper meaning, I think this needs different agencies from AI and also from teachers, the trainers' perspectives, and also the trainees' perspectives, that how a course related to this can really, really demonstrate, maximize people's learning ability, and also from teachers' perspective, whether this fits this pre-service teachers' future teaching contexts as well. Okay, so I think this is the first activity. We'll take a short break, and then we will have another 2-3 activities later to see how AI can generate and help us. Maybe we take a 10 minutes break, yeah? And if you could help me sort out this laptop, maybe we need to restart it. Okay. Thank you for coming back. So let's move on. Yeah. So always when we use some AI generated material, it's always very important that I ask a question. Yeah. Yeah. How do we evaluate this material? I think we've already discussed. Very important to have human agency here, and also to ask AI again if we are not, satisfied with this. AI is very friendly. AI always, wants to help. It's always there. So we just need to have this agency, and then we just include more prompts to guide AI to help us. That is at the end is what we want. And related to language, related to culture, I think this 1 hour, another 1 hour, I will be talking about more cultural relevant stuff. And also one is about pronunciation teaching. So a term called inferiority complex, this also is in Jennifer Jenkins' 2015 book. Well, this term explains, I think it's quite self-exploratory, says by the glaring defects in our knowledge of English, defeat our knowledge of English, we are in constant distress as we realize how little we know about the language we are supposed to teach. And then you just feels we're in the kind of in the middle, and also with this whiteness in ELTs, because some people also argue this whitening of this CV or whitening of this profile picture. That's why sometimes for this fairness of job application, sometimes a picture is not required. Yeah. So we talk about culture as well. That from a traditional perspective, teachers and students may only passively learn certain cultural content, cultural knowledge in relation to restricted topics from tests or textbooks without questioning the author's perspectives from critical perspective. So in the cultural communication, instruction may present a limited amount of cultural knowledge and fail to reflect an intercultural communication from a multilingual and multicultural perspective, where users of English may face different emergent situations to deal with cultural references and practices to negotiate and mediate between the dynamic resources in intercultural communication. So the relationship of language and culture, again, from a very traditional perspective, people say language and culture are intrinsically related. But now scholars will say that to some extent, language and culture might be, separate to some extent. Yeah, but here language represents a target culture that normally we teach native variety, we teach native English, we teach British, we teach American culture. Culture and language, however, relationship is interpreted, are closely linked. That's from a traditional way. And language teaching will thus inevitably have a cultural dimension. Also, the periphery needs to learn the culture of the center rather than vice versa. So the problem is the school's dependence on fixed curricula, the strangleholds of standardized testing, an possibility of giving individual attention with high student-teacher ratios. So students are reading and over-dependent to the same textbook. In terms of teaching culture, fixed cultural knowledge is taught. The cultures of the center are emphasized to marginalize the cultures of periphery. And as we always mention, this native speakerism as well. There's this monolithic, unilateral view defining culture as the representative of Anglophone countries. It's taught in a restricted manner based on Anglophone cultures. Okay. I think I also talk about Professor Kumaravadivalu's argument here before I show you the example. Yeah, the essentialist view of looking at culture, which may reduce the concept of culture to a concrete and tangible product. So people may just see A culture and B culture, they may regard culture as a product instead of rather fluid, rather as a discourse, rather as a social practice, right? And so in this transition era of education, students are required to raise intercultural awareness and encourage intercultural citizenship as a key component. I'll be talking about this more in detail this afternoon, yeah, of their literacy development for various intercultural encounters. And this is the argument of Professor Kumaravadivalu. I also showed yesterday that TESOL textbooks continue to use the English as a cultural carrier. So the TESOL profession cannot remain oblivious to the fact that globalization has resulted in greater contacts between people of different cultures, leading to a better awareness of each other's values and visions, and to a firmer resolve to preserve and protect one's cultural liberty. Not only policymakers, but also textbook preparation and production remain a centrally controlled, globally targeted activity with very little role for local ELT professionals. So I found this example, two examples. One is more like an intermediate language textbook. Another one is a textbook on intercultural communication. Okay. So 1 or 2 minutes, if you want to analyze the content, if you want to use this textbook to teach, do you feel happy? Or what kind of adaptations should you use? I don't know, yeah. How do you feel about from the left-hand side? Yeah? You'll be the moderator, so.
I would feel that it is quite a little bit distant from me because the way the flag is shown is not from like Asian countries, right? As far as I can know, they are like British, American, and is it Canada, the red one? Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I were to teach my students, it would be difficult for me because if I tell them, okay, these are the countries that you need to know, so what's next? I would not be able to tell them what are the cultures, what are like important factors that they are supposed to know. But yes, there might be some important aspects. For example, we might need to study the backgrounds of these countries so that we know what are the Englishes that they are using. And that would be the part. But for us, in terms of speaking to these people, it might be not that easy to be able to find them in our context. I mean, as far as I know, yes, that would be for my answer.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. And especially if we see the title, it says The Way We Live. I think none of us really have this, that the way we live. So if you see the identity, how a textbook is produced in this way, to some extent urge the identity to some people. But even if we see also the illustration here, yeah, it's another way of stereotyping, right, of how people yeah. Although I recognize it's very difficult to design a textbook, always people can really critique the textbook. Yeah, it's not about the, yeah, but it's about the critical way of teaching, right? And it's about the way of adopting and also adapting to the content. How about the second one? If you don't recognize Chinese, you can see the English title. For those of you who can read Chinese, it's even, yeah, we've got Chinese students as well there. But yeah. How do you feel about this textbook? Yeah, you can. So the title is what? Yeah. You've got comments or? Oh, okay.
Okay, I've been nominated. It says that Encounters with Westerners. This reminds me of a movie like Encounter with Aliens.
Uh-huh.
And to some extent, it's not quite different because it seems to project the other, and in other ring, it's certain features. And here it proposed to improve communication skills in English, etc. I'm not quite convinced.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, the response online, yeah?
Communication skills, improving skills in English and
Yeah, please, you can turn on your mic and share who is.
okay, Professor. My name is Wang Feiyan. I'm a Chinese.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Yes, I can hear you. I think here 跨文化交际技巧, this is intercultural communication skills, right? I think it's a little bit different ways how to communicate with Westerners. Because intercultural communication skills not only involve Westerners, but also involves like people from different backgrounds.
Yes, this is a very good point. So if I think when we recognize Chinese, you can see the title is called Encounters with Westerners. And the Chinese translation here is 跨文化. 跨文化 is actually intercultural communication. Yeah, 交际,跨文化交际 is intercultural communication. Skills of intercultural communication. Okay, while here the English title is only Encounters with Westerners. So again, there is a generalization of intercultural communication may equal to only that we encounter Westerners. And also the English subtitle is Improving Skills in English and Intercultural Communication. Who should improve the skills, right? It seems that it assumes that the so-called non-Westerners, us maybe, have to improve skills in English and intercultural communication in order to communicate when we encounter Westerners, in order to communicate with them. But also the Chinese version, it says how to 打交道, I don't know, how to talk to, how to negotiate, and how to communicate with Westerners. So the Chinese version did not really mention about improving, but the English version, it says improving. So I think there's a mismatch, and there is also hidden, messages there, hidden information there. Very, very interesting. Yeah. Thank you. So, okay, I'll show you my prompts later. So for you to use the prompts, yeah, if you would ask AI, again, before ask AI, we are already, thinking ourselves that how do we improve, what type of, if we want to teach based on the textbook, what kind of changes do we really want to do? So again, you can try like 5 minutes, okay? Try to see how you adapt to this content and how can AI help you, and to see what type of new contents would AI, generate. You can try this. Yeah, and see what type of prompts you'll use to ask AI. And then I'll show you my prompts as well. Maybe I'll share this picture. Yeah. suggestions from AI. Yeah. Have you found that? Some, yeah. I don't know if you're doing this. Anyone would like to share some suggestions? Okay. Suggestions from AI and how you feel about those suggestions. No problem. Yeah, we just share what AI says. Yeah, you can share. Yes, please.
You have to stop the screen sharing.
Oh, okay.
All right, here, this is the thing that I put on here. So I create a prompt, try to integrate global Englishes when using these materials to teach in EFL classroom. Normally, I provide the context to the AI. So they just give me the answer of the exercise, and then here, this is the answer. Integration of global Englishes. So it's just quite like broad suggestion, activity, discussion, extension activity. So, did I unmute microphone? Yeah. Okay. So, I just make another prompt here based on the previous picture, create another activity for intermediate learners. So give specific context of my student, and then they provide some activity with the objective, materials needed, and instruction. Okay, so they design the listening activity, some discussion step by step, and like presentation and follow-up activity. So I think it depends on your prompt. If you provide enough setting or context to them, they will give you quite a good example here. And also worksheet template. This is quite interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think in this case, right, some AI generated content still focus on the native contexts, and like the activity, it seems still, when we look at culture, right, still look at the country guess, right, or to some extent still not the perfect one, but it can guide us to teach. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, any comments? Any other like ways of using prompts using AI? No more? Okay. Because this is my prompt. I ask like, how can the idea of global English is... Oh. Yeah, because I think it would be good to share different... And if you found anything very interesting generated by AI, you can just share with us, right? Because I think mine is also very limited. So I just ask, like, how can the idea of global English language teaching be applied and change the content of this teaching material? If I just... Yeah. So when I first asked the prompt of GLT, so that is the answer from the AI. So it explains GLT, the diverse and dynamic nature of English as it's spoken. Applying GLT to the given teaching material can involve several changes. So this is from AI incorporates multiple varieties of English, contextual awareness. Yeah. So here is to talk about that. Other like Indian English, Singaporean English, Nigerian English, to different accents, dialects. Second one is contextual awareness. Very interesting, yeah. Discuss how English is used in multilingual settings. particularly in places like Macau. Wow, I don't know whether AI really loves Macau a lot, where English serves as a lingua franca among speakers. Number 3, focus on communication strategies. Include role plays, simulations, global topics and perspectives, local and global context. This is generated by AI as a guidance, but the example, so AI says to include like flags from countries where English is an official or widely used second language. Try to include, okay, in brief explanation. The second one is people and places section. So revise, yeah, mention the influence of Spanish, American English regions like for Canada, for Australia, for India. And also the exercise, listening activities featuring speakers from diverse English backgrounds, reading passage, discussion questions as well. Additional activities, introduce tasks that require students to research and present on the use of English, And by incorporating these elements, the teaching materials will better reflect the principles of global English language teaching, preparing students to use English effectively in a variety of global contexts. Okay, so I don't know, I still feel a bit vague. Yeah, and I just challenged AI. I add another prompt. I said, still, it seems that the materials focus much on inner and outer circle contexts. The idea of global Englishes should be further incorporated. How can you still adjust the materials? Go back. So because I challenge AI, I ask AI to see this. AI said, because I think AI does not really understand global Englishes to some extent. So to further incorporate the idea of global Englishes and ensure that materials do not focus too heavily on inner and outer. Well, AI understands this, okay, inner and outer circle. So they used to emphasize the plurality and dynamic use of English in expanding circle contexts. So maybe AI added UAE. I think Philippines, Malaysia is still inner circle anyway, but add UAE. And also English functions, people. Oh, wow. That's, yeah. Add descriptions of countries, right, from the expanding circle where English plays a significant role, even whatever significant or not. But okay, but we can just refer to this. Maybe we add some extra, okay, the different contexts and highlights how English is used in different contexts, schools, international business, or popular culture. I think in this sense, teachers may also be bombarded with different ideas. So I think we also need to be selective. Yeah. Yeah, which one may be helpful, which one we may adjust as well. So, okay, the exercise. We've got listening activities, reading passages, discussion, role play from this content. So again, AI is very like research oriented. So this is an example, okay, from the text, from the wording of the text, right? So this is the second biggest country, and this one is kind of revision, a new text. So I think it's helpful, right? Yeah, for teachers. So I ask another question. Can you include an example of Thai context to be included in this teaching material? Because I think localization is important based on other contexts. And let's see what ChatGPT would say, yeah? And then I think you are more capable. You can evaluate this one. How do I share it again? Okay. Okay, so here a new text focusing on the local context. Maybe it's not 100% correct. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, but again, you know the better, we know it based on this, right? And you can also ask students to discuss whether they believe that Thai English is a localized variety or not. Yeah. Again, we talk about here, mixed type of English in urban areas, tourist destinations, and also the exercise as well. An audio clip of a Thai tour guide explaining historical sites. I think it also promotes, yeah, tourism and any other aspects. And this one is Thai professionals who use English in their work. Reading passage. So also with this example reading passage. Yeah. So I think that's the way to guide us and also to adapt the teaching, the materials to be more localized. And also the role play activity, right? A Thai tour guides and international tourists. It's more real life English. Role play scenario. You are a tour guide in Bangkok, leading a group of international tourists through the Grand Palace. Use English to explain the history and significance of the sites and be ready to answer questions from the tourists. Incorporate some Thai words and cultural references to give a more authentic experience. So I think in this way, we not only learn English from a global English's perspective, but we also understand our local culture, local aspects, okay, to introduce our local culture and, for example, tourism to the world, to the outsiders. In this way, we just not only use English as a language, but from the content base, from a content-wise, right, it's a promotion of local culture as well. Yeah, because we talk about the spread of, we talk about intercultural communication. So in this way, I think this one is an original text from the US. This is a revised text from the Thai context as well. So by including these elements, the teaching material will provide a more comprehensive and realistic understanding of how English is used in various global contexts, including Thailand, and will better reflect the principles of global Englishes, right? Okay. The ChatGPT, we've got the comment here. In integrating global Englishes into language teaching materials involving, I think this is from ChatGPT, right? Expose students to different accents. Yeah, yeah. So what we similar from the generated by AI, critical thinking as well. Always suggest role play. Haha. Whenever ask him suggestions for teaching. So this Gemini, yeah, I think it's still this formula. I think from the AI, they've got again this human agency. So we need to see how we adjust this teaching material. Yeah, they like role play, but we also see when you play with AI a lot, we understand AI. Yeah, that's why like AI is not that mysterious. Sometimes we are more like the same. We can really showcase how we manage the classroom, and then AI is just a guidance. We don't want to basically be controlled by AI either. That's very, very important. So this is the second activity, maybe to help challenge. And then later, for teachers, we can also have time to discuss how you evaluate anything we want to change, right? And I also ask AI to generate some pictures for us. In this way, it's generated by AI, yeah? Not perfect, but it's more culturally inclusive in a sense, and it's not that too native oriented in a sense. And this is another one generated by AI. Yeah, although the language base, I think we also need to adapt. The language is not really, yeah, it's not good at all. So the way of reconsidering language and culture, right? Some questions for teachers is that where a language, that's English, or where English, a language is not associated with any one's particular geographical or national entity, when we say English is a global language, as the case with English, what culture is the language linked to? Not only British American native culture, and even not only post-colonial settings, but we need to understand the world cultures. Of course, we don't have time to introduce the different types of culture through the world, but it's more like this awareness, right? In the intercultural communication, how to adjust, how we position ourselves to be more capable to communicate with people from different parts of the world. Again, I think in this way, it's more like encounter with people from various contexts. It's not only encounter with Westerners. Yeah. So second question is, what does multiculturalism, multilingualism mean to higher education, right? We have so many terms, we have so many slogans, but in real life teaching, in this teaching context, I think we still train ourselves in a very traditional way of such textbooks produced in the so-called the center publishers abroad, and also this judgment, this linguistic judgment, cultural judgments, exams, etc., are still very, very native oriented. So when people are advocating language diversity and intercultural communication, what does this mean to higher education, right? So if AI can play a role, teacher, humans, we also play an important role, because again, not every teacher, not every student can have access to AI as well. So again, this way, if we have this, if I put scare quotes, privilege to use AI, for those who don't have this opportunity of access to AI, we should really, really play a role for them, right? If AI can guide us as teachers, as educators, we should also guide people to be more, open-minded and to be more inclusive, to challenge this very fixed language ideology, cultural ideology as well. So again, this, how should we decide on the cultural content of the language classroom? Sometimes we don't have this flexibility. Yeah, sometimes as teachers, again, I'll talk about teacher education later this afternoon. The metaphor is that we are sandwiched. It's again difficult for us because at the top we have this university policy that they'll urge us to do this, to do what, to choose which textbooks. Okay, and then at the bottom we have students. Sometimes we even have parents. Yeah, teachers' role. Sometimes we have to please students and parents, which I don't like this very much. Yeah, as teachers we don't really please people, right? But as teachers we really need to have this awareness of how we understand the role of an educator of doing things like this. Okay, so I think that goes to the last activity. It's about pronunciation teaching. I think many of us have been involved in pronunciation teaching. And I think this is one of the, when we say accent, when we say pronunciation, is one of the first impression that people will have. Okay, what type of accent you have, what type of pronunciation you have, how do you feel about the TH sounds in English teaching? I don't know, like especially many Chinese, many Asian people, Southeast, it's very difficult to pronounce this sound, right? Yeah. This is a tongue sandwich. I think it's but labial sound, yeah, it's a sound. Even when I was in the UK, I found I talked to some British native speaker. He could not produce TH sound either. He said, "Oh, my family cannot produce TH sound." Yeah, I think he produced another way. I think it's I can't remember. It's not a ter sound, but it's like a third sound or something, a sh sound or something. Yeah, I can't remember, but I just encountered. Yeah, so but I think many people with native speaker, we have to imitate this T sound. I also attended a talk from Professor David Detterding. Yeah, he was my external examiner. I attended his talk when he visited the UK when I was in the UK. So this is the Civil Aviation Authority radio telephony manual. Even for this aviation authority, the pilots and also the controllers, they are not expected to produce the TH sound in a way. So 3 is pronounced as tli. Even 1,000 is pronounced as 1,000. So I think in this way will enhance intelligibility. Instead of, control sometimes you cannot hear the sound anyway, right? So even this manual requires people to produce in this way. So for example, this is from Datading. If pilots are required to have T sound at the start of 3 or tlia, and 1,000 as 1,000, why should we insist on students using So in the UK, people are increasingly pronouncing voiceless th as something. So again, very interesting. For us, it's very difficult. I don't know in the Asian contexts. So this is like an examples. Okay, some are like minimal, not only minimal pairs, but this is teach. Again, if you want to raise this awareness of global intelligibility, okay, I already showed this. That's my prompt to AI. You can try, or you can develop your prompt. I ask AI, do you think the teaching of TH sound is too much native oriented from the global English's perspective? And this is another follow-up question. I'll show you here, because I forgot to do this animation. You already see this prompt. And another question I just follow up with, you are very considerate, but what happens if such pronunciation may create some issues on intelligibility? How can you adjust the teaching materials? Maybe I'll leave you maybe 5 minutes that you can play with. When you see this teaching, or you teach like TH sounds, whether it's voiceless or voiced. Yeah, you can ask AI to guide you, or I don't know, you guide AI. What suggestions would AI give to teach this TH sounds, or teach maybe a dark L, the L sound as well, to be more internationally intelligible? You want to play? Maybe just a bit, yeah? Before I just show you what my AI generates. Maybe just 5 minutes you play and then I'll summarize this, okay? Have you found something, 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 or whatever, something or something interesting from your AI? Yeah. Please. Moderator. Where's the, here. You want to share the screen or no? Share the screen, yeah? Join the room and share the screen.
In that case, you have to join the Zoom or you maybe read or
from here. Okay. Okay, the first one, like we can focus on a broader range of songs. So instead of their sound, like we can include some other challenging sounds for learners. For example, like through our sound in Spanish or and the total variations in Mandarin Chinese. Like that, we can include other challenging sound compared with their sound. Okay, and next, like we can also introduce their sound in different languages. For example, like in Thai, like in Thai, yes, in Thai language, like their sound is we can compare with our native symbols. Like for example, in sound we can compare with this character, and this sound can be compared with this character like this. It also pronounce their sound, but in Thai symbol like this. Actually, in Greek, in Burmese, like that, we can compare with our alphabet sound. Okay, and next, we can also compare with minimal pairs. And for example, like this, Uma, sorry, for English, like thing, ping, like this, with different sound, we can compare and contrast with this to be more obvious. Okay, and for also for the Thai, we can use like thing it means like in Thai it means color, right? So thing like this, yes. And for like for thing thing, okay. And then you can also use the word place, which means in Thai it's like this. Okay, yes. And also we can use our like sound placement, like how to say body language sound placement. Where do we put the tongue? Like between the teeth, like a sandwich. Like this. Yes. We can also explain with our body language. And okay. And next, uh, yes, activities. We can also use games or activities to teach the sounds. For example, using like picture, words or picture together with this song, like this. Okay, here is my presentation for this song. Thank you very much.
So again, AI can be used as a reference. Yeah, it's not perfect, but we can, enhance this awareness of this diversity and various languages with this example. Very, very good. Yeah. Any more? Or let me show my prompts. Okay. Then we can compare, right? It's not detailed teaching plan. I've got GE pronunciation. This one. Okay. But I just challenge AI that AI confess this one. So this is because many varieties of English around the world do not use the sounds, and speakers of these varieties are still fully intelligible and proficient in English. So again, okay, to give examples of TH sounds in Indian English, in Caribbean English, in African Englishes, okay, in Singapore English. Again, we don't really ask people to imitate. We don't really teach that, oh, you have to follow what English or like this. I think this is a way of awareness, yeah. And people, they produce English with their own identity, no problem. But I think this is the way of raising the awareness and also the intelligibility and communication, adjustments to the teaching material, okay, to different varieties in this way, contextual learning, and with this example that you can do this native-oriented focus. Still, we don't really abandon the native English, but it can be it can be global Englishes focus, right? And then we see the examples like this. By making these adjustments, the teaching material will better reflect the principle, Okay. I think I asked the follow-up question to that. Right, so this is the follow-up question where I asked, yeah, you are very considerate, but what happens if such pronunciation may create some issues on intelligibility? Yeah, because, for example, Singaporeans pronounce this one, Caribbean pronounce this one, but again, what happened to the intelligibility? So I asked ChatGPT to adjust as well. Okay. So here it says awareness and adaptation, listening and comprehension skills, yeah, exposure, okay, pronunciation practice with focus on clarity, interactive activity, Okay, so with some examples like this, minimal pair, I think is similar, right? And again, role play, that's why AI like role play, yeah, minimal pairs. So to some extent, I think this is still vague. That I ask to generate a teaching plan. I didn't say 45 minutes, but AI says 45 minutes. I don't know whether we need to spend 45 minutes teaching the TH sound or not. I think it's, yeah. Okay, maybe AI will assume that it's a 45 teaching. I didn't say 45. Yeah. So the audio clips, fresh cards, minimal pairs, handouts. Okay, so we do this warm up. Let's just follow AI for 45 minutes anyway. I don't think we will teach 45 minutes. So we have the audio clips, class discussion, pronunciation practice, a guided practice, minimum pairs exercise. Yeah, thin with teen, then or then. So conclusion. Yeah, so I don't know, this with some different examples like this. Yeah. And even we will see that we don't really want to label this sound is American English, or this is Indian English, or this is Caribbean English. I think we still need teachers' involvement to see, just don't label a certain ways of pronunciation to a certain variety, because not every Indian speaker will say like this, not every British speaker will say like this, or not Indian, not a Singaporean speaker. Even we have this because idiolects, right? Everyone speaks differently with this different accents, different sounds. So I think that's something important, that in this sense, AI may not be able to really guide us, to generate us. That's why I don't think that AI will replace human beings as teachers, because again, it's very important that we have our agency to play. AI can guide us, but we don't just rely on AI, because previously we just don't rely on textbooks, PowerPoints, the teaching materials. Like today we have AI. We still don't want people to just rely on AI. Just ask AI to design the syllabus and we follow this. Ask AI to design an exam and we just follow this. It's not the case. Ask AI to write us a paper and we just follow this. AI has lots of loops, mistakes. Then we really need our judgment. Then that's why I think nowadays AI is an opportunity for us. And this is also an opportunity and also a requirement for teachers to enhance this professionalism, to read more, to get exposure to various, attend more like professional developments, to read more. And then I think in this way, it also gives us an opportunity and also a task for teachers to enhance our ability and also professionalism, to always develop ourselves. Because in this AI, era, we don't want to be the slaves of the AI. We don't want to be the slaves of technology. And we don't want to just rely on AI to do everything. AI cannot replace us. AI can guide us. Human agency is very, very important. Okay, online teaching, of this sounds similar, right? Okay, from global is recognized. There's no single correct way of pronunciation. Yeah, I like this idea. And Jiminy, yes. So the diversity of this. And again, just to sum up that for global Englishes, it's like a supplement. For global Englishes, we never really want to replace native ideology or native English. Of course, we challenge this native ideology. We believe that it's multilingual awareness. We believe that people should, be like competent language users instead of, perennial language learners, right? So I think this is the way of motivating people to learn and to use not only English, but to maximize our linguistic resources. Yeah, that's nowadays, I think I also researched something related to global Englishes and translanguaging. To some extent, the translanguaging is more inclusive, recognizing our linguistic and cultural multimodal semiotic resources for communication. Yeah, so there are similarities and differences on global Englishes and translanguaging, although I should say that some of the core value share a lot of similarities. Yeah, so the very quick summary is that we will not lose the job anyway, but it's important for us, for teachers, to continue learning and also to enhance, to develop this professionalism in the future. If we don't really continue to learn, yeah, maybe that is like a crisis of the future job, because sometimes in the future students, they will be the future teachers, right? And they have more awareness, they have more knowledge on using AI or using this technology for us. So keep learning, and I think we can just need to embrace this AI era and to maximize AI to help us, to guide us, but don't be the slaves of AI. I think that's something what I would like to share with you at the end. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Are there any question from the floor or question from online? You can type your question on the chat box. Okay, there's one question, Professor, online.
May I ask how to the word prompt translate into Chinese? I think there are different ways of doing this, right? Yeah. Yeah, 指令 or or 提示 or 指令. Yeah, it's just something. Yeah, 提示指令. Okay. This is yeah. And I think in English we don't only say prompt, we can also say others really relevant to this. Yeah. 提示 or 指令 something, yeah. Now we use prompts a lot, yeah, in English.
Any other questions? Yes.
So let's put AI aside for now.
Okay, sure.
Do you think we have enough GE-oriented materials out there in the market?
A very frank answer is no. Because that's why still we talk about GE a lot, but I think the real life situation is that we still focus on very traditional way of teaching, right? Yeah, so that's why I think we need more like local inputs, local educators' inputs. Maybe we can create GE teaching materials that fit the local context, because GE is also very broad, right? GE-oriented teaching materials in China may not really fit GE-oriented teaching material in Thailand, maybe may not fit GE teaching material in South Africa. So I think we need more like local input to create, develop, design more materials and textbooks. I think this way we are not only like empowering people, and also it's a way of us empowering us. Yeah. So it's normally, generally, I think at the beginning I was thinking about talking global English's material development. And Jiang Supong said, oh, you can talk about AI, it's better. That's why it's I also learned a lot from my preparing process using AI and global English's teaching material. Okay. Prompt fluency.
The challenge is really incorporating elements of prompt fluency with GE paradigm. Do you have any suggestions or advice on this?
I think you're more like an expert than me, because I haven't really explored prompt fluency. But I think when we play more, right, with AI, when we try the different prompts to AI, and we will see, like, for example, Gemini, or for example, ChatGPT, they may, be used to certain prompts, certain way of asking question and certain way of answering. And this time, and by this way, I think we can also train AI to help us, right? Yeah, I think this is a very good topic. I haven't done a lot, but I think in the future, yeah, we can do something. Yeah.
Question from online.
How do you think people don't like others' English accents? They view it as language deficits. Yeah, this is, I think people have different like egos as well. People, even you don't like your accents, or people don't like your accents. But that's, I think, the early stage when we research people's attitudes towards different accents. And I also research if people are satisfied, are happy with your own accent. In that sense, I think it's more like the awareness, whether you regard yourself as a lifelong, as a perennial language learners, that's from a deficit perspective, or you feel more confident about your English, how you express yourself well. If you speak beautiful, so-called native accents, but you cannot express yourself well, what does it mean, right? By communication. So accent is only one aspect. Communication is only one aspect of learning. So don't feel really bad, right? And don't just, I think just let go if people don't like your accents. It's you, it's yourself, right? I think it's more important that how you express yourself well to demonstrate your ability of knowledge, learning capacity. Native speakers get more. That's again I already talked about this, this linguistic discrimination, and then I think it's also this self-marginalization. That's the reality. It's very difficult to change the reality, because sometimes people get this job not because of their professionalism, not because of their quality, but because their look, the face validity. And in this fields, I think we need to do a lot. Yeah, and that's something, right? Proficiency as well, professionalism as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor, for a
Okay.
very useful session in the morning.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you everyone who come here on site and also online. In the afternoon session, we will have another interesting session, and it will be conducted in this room. And
Not
the
as interesting as in the morning, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it will be conducted in this room and also the same Zoom meeting. Okay, so stay tuned for the afternoon and have a good lunch. For our on-site participant, please gather in front. We're gonna take a group photo together. You don't have to lock.